The conversation, this conversation, is about experiencing more ease than suffering. Ease even in the midst of suffering. Whether we come at the conversation from the philosophical loop-de-loops or the spiritual Ferris wheel is actually irrelevant. Whether you have an Eastern bent, you lean towards the leaning, or you have a Western bent, where you ponder towards the pondering, either way, the conversation is about reducing suffering and experiencing ease. As you know, it's not a requirement. We can suffer every day, all day, for the rest of our lives. It wouldn't be failing, it would just suck. So the whole point in sharing our notes and investigating the nature of our experience is to find ways to generate ease. It's not rocket science, it's not profound, it's obvious. What happens is that whether you're inside of the philosophical loop-de-loops or on the spiritual Ferris wheel, in the amusement park of our lives, it's easy to get caught in the structure of these arguments and of this narrative. Meaning, I could actually spend my entire life quoting other people who said this, that, or the other thing about their experience, and still not yet begin to discover and design my own responses to my experience. This isn't a negative. It's not failure if you don't know anything about yourself, but you know everything about the Buddha. It's just, at some point, we have to admit it's not yet our ease. Everything I ever read and learned about and practiced in the spiritual conversation, all of that, I knew all of that. And yet there was not ease. So when does the ride of whichever philosophical, spiritual angle we're coming at the conversation of ease, when does that ride stop? And when do we get off and experience ease? I don't know about you, but there's a greater discomfort in trying to figure it out than just to sit in the I don't know. Because it's the I don't know that starts the I don't know what's going on. Shit, I'm going to get on this. Woohoo! Hare Rama, Hare Rama. This is great. Rama Rama, Hare. Or, oh, phew. I love that the philosophical conversation brings nothing. Because in this experience, it's all these amazing little word loops. Definitions upon definitions upon definitions. Philosophers don't necessarily chant in the way the mystics do. They're not right or wrong, it just makes for a different kind of meeting. But either way, as the analogy crumbles before us, either way, the conversation is about ease. So if you lost your philosophical knowledge and you lost your spiritual knowledge, you wouldn't lose the ability to create ease in your experience, to experience it right now. And there's something very beautiful about that. That in all of the socialization of seeking the reduction of suffering, it's a social club, as well as a personal investigation. Although the line there gets very tricky, it's a social club, and you know this. You've heard so and so say this about so and so says this about so and so says this about so and so, and all of a sudden it's like we're in high school again. So and so. Hold on. The whole point of an education is to be able to experience the wonder and awe of being alive and to feel ease, to have less suffering than more. So, just for a second, how amazing that the conversation, the investigation itself, is totally private. The note sharing is social, but the investigation is private. How do I work? When dis-ease arises, when discomfort arises, when suffering arises, what was happening right before then? What do I believe? What do I think? What do I want? In relationship to all of this, that's available all the time. It requires no one. No one else. How do I work? And if you're in the philosophical conversation, there's huge emphasis on definitions and terms and logic. And if you're in the spiritual conversation, there's a huge emphasis on practices and a different kind of logic, illogic. Things to do. And what's interesting is that, toss those both away, there's a real happy medium. And the hilarious thing is that the happy medium, the balance point between East and West, in terms of the approaches to what's going on here, is you. You're the perfect harmony between the two. And that's the amazing news, as far as I can tell, is that if I'm willing to investigate definitions a little bit, and I'm willing to investigate emotions and song and dance and stillness a little bit, then I arrive in the middle with all the tools I need. My encouragement in this video is that this is not a group project. Doesn't mean we can't share our notes, but the investigation for how you reduce ease and suffering in your experience is not something anyone can help you with. Support and encouragement, but no one can do the investigation for you. So we can turn to the Hollywood Square stars of both sides of the conversation, and we can ask them our questions, and we can receive benefit from that. That's part of the fun. But we can also ignore that all. Ignore all of the socialized way that this very private and elegant exploration of how to suffer less is carried out. If I carry out the investigation, constantly checking in with the others, It'd be no different than Darwin or the Buddha, for lack of a better example, constantly checking in as they made their exploration, as they made their investigation. They didn't check in with anybody. They just sat down, followed their intuition, meaning trusted their own experience, and produced whatever result they could come up with. You aren't lacking anything that the Buddha had. You aren't lacking anything that any adventurer, any explorer that has ever lived had. You have exactly the same what's going on here curiosity and I'd like to suffer less desire that everyone who has ever lived has. And that's the beautiful part. To me, that's the most beautiful thing. Is I can simply pay attention to my own experience. I don't have to get into non-duality socialized, because non-duality is a socialized conversation. You know, by yourself, try to have a non-duality argument by yourself. I mean, it's hilarious. You know, the whole thing is a social group. It's no different than going down to the church and having an argument about gay marriage. You know, the argument about pronouns. The argument about how to say it right. You know, and all of the religions have their own kind of, this is what's going on here. And the beautiful thing is that none of that's required for you to go, I don't know, I'm going to put all of that aside. How do I create ease and less suffering in my experience? How do I have more fun, if that's a desire? This is not a group project. And sharing our encouragement and sharing our notes is a beautiful thing. But assuming we need that in order to do the investigation, that's where it gets unfortunate. Because everyone in the social clubs is going to tell you, yes, you need it. You need us. You need us. You need to consider this. You need to consider, no, you're backsliding. You're spiritual bypassing. Everyone's got something that you need to be doing differently. It's up to you. That's the most beautiful thing to discover. It's up to me. I can listen to the whole world. Tell me what I should and shouldn't do, what I should and shouldn't consider, what I should and shouldn't compare, how I should or shouldn't think or feel or experience. But how wonderful, how totally wonderful that is absolutely irrelevant if I want it to be. Ease is available in this experience, in my experience, when I stop believing I have to check in with anyone. Is this okay? Is this right? Well, I don't have his happy face yet. Must be doing this wrong. You know, that self-doubt. In this experience, that's the cause of disease. Not trusting the obviousness of my experience. And then not waiting for the social approval. The high five, the gold star, the attaboy. Something wrong with waiting for it, but it's not required.